Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Nike Free Run for 2016. Now this is more or less a direct replacement for the Free Run 5.0 that obviously we get every single year. Nike seems to be trying to get away from the numbering system. So basically what we have right now is the Free Run with the engineered mesh upper, which is what I'm holding in my hand. And then you have the Free Run Flyknit, which is a shoe that I already did a video on. If you want to check that out, I'll leave an annotation on screen. But in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at the regular Free Run model with the engineered mesh upper. It has a retail price of $100. If you're interested in a pair, there is a buy it now link in the description of this video. It's available in tons of different colorways right at the launch. So again, we're going to go over tech specs, performance details. I'm going to share my experience with the shoe so far. And we're basically going to go over everything that you need to know. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around and watch the entire video. Again, if you're interested in a pair, there is a link down below in the description. Check that out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's talk about performance. Now, with the upper, this is really as straightforward as it gets for Nike Free. We've really never seen anything quite this simple, although the basic formula hasn't really changed over the last couple of years for the Nike Free either. It's a mesh upper in this particular situation. It's an engineered mesh. And then of course you have your dynamic flywire cables, 4 on each side, that work obviously from the base of the sole into the lacing system, providing a little bit of lockdown and structure through the middle of the foot. With that being said, what I like about this upper in comparison to the last couple is that you have minimal amounts of, I guess, restrictiveness in the upper. It's pretty much just solid mesh all the way through the entire lateral side, the entire forefoot, and really the only stiffness or stiff part of the upper is this little fuse point right here that's fairly thin and in a spot where honestly you don't feel it. For a little while they were doing the fuse point right about here, which I wasn't a huge fan of just because you could actually feel it when you're wearing the shoe. But right here you don't notice it at all, and for the most part they just feel like some really nice kind of flexible mesh socks, if that makes any sense. And then again, you get that little bit of lockdown through the midfoot when you tie the laces tight. Laces run through the middle. It does have an independent padded mesh tongue as well. The actual engineered mesh, as you guys can see, gets more open and more structured in areas obviously where it's required. More open at the top, more structured around the edges. So it's a very, very comfortable shoe. There's pretty much no break-in time required. You put them on and they're comfortable from the get-go. And that's kind of what the Nike Free line has always been about. I know a lot of you guys will ask whether or not you can play soccer in these and what exactly they're intended for. This is a Nike Free Run. So really, it's made for jogging in a straight line at a steady pace, and that's it. It's not a training shoe. It's not really made for quick cuts, change of direction, sprinting in general, especially given the lack of rubber right here. There's not a lot of reinforcement to the upper either, so if you do put a lot of stress on the sides, there's going to be quite a bit of rollover. But again, it's intended as a runner. It should be used as a runner. So just keep that in mind. As far as the back of the shoe is concerned, it doesn't have any plastic here as we've kind of come to expect from the Nike Free line, although it does have a more significant amount of padding than what we've seen in the past. So there is kind of more structure to the heel, which I personally don't mind at all. It does feel very, very comfortable to me, and I didn't have any issues with discomfort in general with these shoes. The insole is fully removable. I'll give you guys a quick look at that. It features a mesh liner on top, and it's just a single layer of ortholite foam. Again, something that we've been seeing a little while now from the Nike Free line, and it works quite well. But then of course you get the outsole, which is probably the biggest change coming from previous models, but at the same time, it's not really that big a change either. The actual foam that they're using, while they haven't really specified exactly what it is a softer type of material than what we've seen in the past, which does give this a more cushioned sensation than what we've seen from previous Nike Free models. It is an 8mm offset, being that this is more or less the replacement for the 5.0 that, again, the numbering system they're kind of trying to get away from. So what that means is that your heel sits 8mm higher than your forefoot. It's basically the drop from heel to toe, if you will. So 8mm, it's not necessarily completely flat. It's not like a standard running shoe either. That would normally be up around 10 or 12. So it's kind of that in-between range. And again, they're very, very comfortable to run in. If you want something a little bit more minimal, there are obviously better options out there. But if you want something that's going to be flexible, kind of low to the ground, fairly minimal, but at the same time doesn't necessarily lack a decent amount of underfoot cushioning, these are definitely a pretty solid option for you. And then of course, being that it is Nike free, it does have all the little cutouts in the entire outsole, which is basically solid foam aside from the little bit of rubber at the tip of the toe and a little bit of rubber at the back of the heel in kind of the high wear zones, if you will. So again, as far as traction is concerned, for jogging, it's totally fine. But as soon as you want to go a little bit more quickly, push off on the bottom of the foot, there really isn't any traction just because it is straight up foam. And as far as the actual cutouts are concerned, they have changed that up this year. You now have basically triangular cutouts, as you guys can see by the little shapes. But for the most part, they say that it got more flexible. They say that it's supposed to feel more natural when you're running, but for me anyways, they feel like Nike Frees. Nike Frees have never really lacked in the flexibility department, and these are no different. So if you like that super flexible kind of highlight Nike Free feel, you definitely get that from the 2016 Nike Free Run. And for the $100 price tag that they're asking, it's going to be a popular shoe without doubt. So again, pretty solid shoe, kind of just a new variation of what we've seen many times before from the Nike Free line, but in my opinion, better than the last couple of Free 5.0 models, just based on the outsole being a little bit more padded and the upper just feeling that much more natural on your feet. As far as weight is concerned, the Nike Free Run is pretty light. So just to see exactly how light they are, I'm going to weigh them for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind, this is a brand new pair in a size 10 US. We're going to throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.8 ounces, the equivalent of 249 grams. Now, in comparison to the new Flyknit variation of the Nike Free Run in the same size and condition, those weigh in at 8 ounces exactly. So these are technically 0.8 ounces heavier than the Flyknit variation, which also does retail for $40 more. I think the Flyknit variation is probably the more premium model of the two, both in terms of feel as well as looks. But comfort-wise, these are equally as comfortable in my opinion. And the extra weight, while 0.8 ounces, some people might say, is a noticeable difference in hand, on feet, it's really hard to notice a difference between the two, especially given that they do have the same Nike Free bottom. All the extra weight comes in from the upper, and again, being under the 9 ounce mark for any pair of running shoes, that is very, very light. So for the most part, I don't really think that weight should be the deciding factor if you're trying to pick between the regular version and the Flyknit variation. Pick whichever one you like best, but for the most part, if you want that lightweight feel, that Nike Free feel, if you will, you're going to get that from the Nike Free Run. As far as design is concerned, this is as straightforward looking a Nike shoe as you're going to find. There's really not a lot of design to the shoe in general. Obviously, you do have a little bit of kind of color variation in the upper on this particular colorway within the engineered mesh, this being the pure platinum, electric green, and black colorway that I thought looked pretty good. None of the launch colorways, in my opinion, are particularly amazing, but this one I didn't mind too much, especially considering you do have the combination of pure platinum, which is basically a gray, and black within the actual mesh material. Some of them are just a solid color, so you don't even necessarily see as much of the design. The black and white ones come to mind. So again, unless you just don't like the look of a Nike swoosh in the middle of the shoe, there isn't too much to dislike about this particular design. Laces are in the middle. You see the actual flywire peeking through, the little cutouts within the upper, Nike swoosh on either side. It obviously does say Nike Free Run right there on the tongue. A little bit of design here going on in the back, a little reflective strip as well. And then again, Nike Free, solid outsole, white in color. It does say Nike Free right there on the side. And then you have a little bit of color there at the bottom as well. So pretty straightforward shoe, pretty straightforward colorway for the most part. We will see probably more patterns and more variation in the future as more and more colorways come out. But for the time being, they left things pretty simple for the next generation Nike Free, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. So let me know what you guys think about how these things look down below in the comment section. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and of course what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Nike Free Runs on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock gray laces that come with the shoes, and on my right foot, I have a pair of wide green reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You can find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they are extremely comfortable from right out of the box. The mesh upper really has no restrictiveness to it whatsoever. They've got the fuse point at a spot on your foot where you don't really feel it at all when you're actually wearing the shoe, which is great. So in terms of breaking something in, there really isn't anything to break in. It's a Nike Free, so it does have that split up outsole that's extremely flexible, no restrictiveness to it whatsoever. And the upper is fully mesh, so it doesn't really offer any kind of stiffness either. You get the fly wire running through the midfoot, so when you do pull the laces tight, it doesn't squeeze your midfoot, it just gives you just a little bit of a lockdown that you kind of need in any pair of shoes. And as far as the heel is concerned, there's no plastic there. And I just really like that about the Nike Free Run in general. It just feels very natural on your feet, which is kind of what they're going for with this particular style of shoe. Again, flexibility very, very good. And in comparison to previous Nike Free models, I will say that the softer foam that they've used on this new one does offer what feels like a more heavily cushioned running shoe. So if you do want that super minimalist feel, maybe go for an older Nike Free model, where this one, like I said, doesn't necessarily feel like it's overly cushioned. It's just not quite as low profile as what we've had in the past. But as far as comfort is concerned for running, even just walking around wearing these casually, because I know a lot of people will buy them for that particular reason, especially given the simple look that they have now, they are super comfortable shoes and you absolutely cannot go wrong. Width-wise, they're going to be suitable for just about anybody. There's not really any kind of narrow fit to them. They'll fit just about anybody, especially given the mesh upper, and it's fairly stretchy kind of feel. And as far as sizing is concerned, I've always worn a size 10 US in Nike Frees, went with the same size in the new model, and the fit is pretty much the same. So I always find that they run about a half size small. So for me, Nike Frees, I always go a half size up. Normally I wear a 9.5 US, went up to a 10 here. And like I said, the fit is pretty much perfect. So if you're coming from previous Nike Free models, stick with the same size. And if you're coming from most other running shoes, I would personally recommend going a half size up. All right, guys, that's it for my review of the 2016 Nike Free Run. Again, if you guys are interested in a pair for yourself, there is a buy it now link down below in the description. It's the very first link. So go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions at all regarding this particular shoe, leave them down below in the comment section, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. If you aren't subscribed already, be sure to hit that subscribe button for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.